Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this afternoon's video. Very late with today's video, so we're just going to rattle through the charts. Going to have a very quick look at October. We've got this area of high pressure building in for this week. Lots of dry and settled weather. There's been some doubt about how long this high pressure going on for, and we may be seeing an end to it already as soon as next week. So we'll have a look at all the charts in a second. Just very quick to say about the ads. There's links to articles on all pages at Gaznovids. Have a browse widgets. Any articles that you're interested in, you can click through. You help page website. Thanks so much for doing that. So we're going to start off with CFS B2. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period going from the 28th of September to the 4th of October. And this shows the high pressure in across the country. A very big area of high pressure sitting more or less over the top of the country, blocking off all of the areas of low pressure in the Atlantic. So there's going to be a lot of settled weather coming up over the next week. It's been well advertised, but it is in now. That high pressure is going to be staying with us at least up until the weekend. But as we go through to the next weekly period, and this is the period where a few days ago models sort of extending this area of high pressure out. Now we are seeing signs of a change. So for the 5th to the 11th of October, we find below average heights starting to come back around Iceland. The ridge is being pushed towards the east of Europe and going out into the central part of the Atlantic. So that's allowing the jet stream to start to come back in across the country a little bit like that. So that's sort of a breakdown period. Could be starting off with a lot of fine and settled weather, but as the week progresses from the 5th to the 11th, probably turning more unsettled from the north and the west. And then the next weekly period going from the 12th to the 18th of October, so through the middle part of the month, shows that trough deepening in the Atlantic, quite a deep trough setting up around Greenland and Iceland. The ridge is still relatively close to the east, but really I think this area of low pressure in the Atlantic, because it's quite a deep trough, would be the driving factor really here. So the south and east could get some drier conditions at times, but I think really that is quite an unsettled sort of scenario. That is quite a deep trough setting up around Greenland and Iceland. And then finally, the week of the 19th to the 25th, again, big wall of high pressure sitting to the east of the country, but we've still got this trough out to the west, and we're still bringing the jet stream into the country rather like that. So it certainly is a more unsettled flavour to this CFS update this morning compared to what we've had from this model over the past week or so. It isn't extending the high pressure anticyclonic conditions out really beyond the first week of the month, though high pressure is not all that far away. It's generally quite a changeable period coming up to the 25th of October. And so we could already be starting to see the signs of this change to more unsettled conditions next week. So this is the GFS chart for Friday, showing a ridge of high pressure dominating across many parts of Europe. That stays with us into the weekend, but gradually starts to recede towards the east of Europe. So by the time you go through to Sunday the 4th of October, we're beginning to pick up this southerly flow. That could be quite mild, but low pressure is out in the Atlantic, and by the time we go through to Monday the 5th, a week today, that low pressure is really breaking through across the country, bringing wet and windy conditions across many parts of the UK. And then going to an unsettled phase, really. So on the 6th of October, Tuesday the 6th, bringing another area of low pressure through, quite tightly packed ice bars with that. So if it came off, there'd be gales up in the north, the first sort of autumn gales of the season probably. And out today, 10, Thursday the 8th of October, we remain in this sort of flat westerly flow with showers along as spells of rain. Again, tightly packed isobars for Scotland, so it is windy. There'd be the risk of gales through parts of Scotland. The ECWF also wants to turn things more unsettled in the extended rain. So again, Friday, we've got high pressure through the country that carries on into Saturday, dominating the weather into the weekend. Gradually slipping away on Sunday. It's going in towards the east of Europe by Sunday, the centre of it. It's still relatively settled, but you notice pressure is leaking away to the north and the west. And as we go into the start of next week, then low pressure really does start to take over, bringing wet conditions across many parts of the country, probably on Monday. That goes through into Tuesday. Could be strong winds as well, tight packed ice bars, so it would be windy. be the risk of gales in the north and the west. And it stays unsettled then through next week with low pressure never far away. So showers or longer spells of rain coming in across the country. And that is really a very unsettled scenario setting up by day 10, Thursday, the 8th of October. That low pressure is at around 990 millibars across the country. So proper wet and windy type weather as we go through next week. And then the GEM high pressure in across the country on Friday, keeping us very settled to the end of the week. It lasts into the weekend. And this extends down a little bit longer, actually. Well, it's a bit different with GEM. So on day 8, a week's time, Monday the 5th of October, the high pressure is still ridging through the country. At this point, the GFS and the ECM want to sort of weaken things and start to bring those unsettled conditions in. But it takes longer to get there on the GEM. It does eventually get there, though. So by day 10, Thursday the 8th, we're under an area of low pressure. There'd be showers and longer spells of rain. Not particularly windy, though. It's not as stormy as the other two. So if you want to keep the settled weather going, the GEM is the one to root for, because although it does get more unsettled by day 10, it takes longer to get there, and it doesn't go as wet and windy. But it's always a bit different. I think we've really got to look at the GFS and the ECMWF as the probable solution, which is settled weather to carry on through the rest of this week and into the weekend. Probably start to turn wet in the north and west by the time you get through to Sunday, and then next week a rapid progression probably to really quite unsettled conditions, and maybe the first sort of autumnal gales of the season could be just around the corner next week. I'll keep you posted on this change. Whenever we break out of high pressure, low pressure, this is the caveat. I explain it all the time in these videos, but whenever we break out of high pressure to low pressure, very often the models can be too progressive in bringing the low pressure through. They want to revert to a default setting, if you like, which is westerly and low pressure dominated for our part of the world. And it can happen too quickly, so it could be they're overdoing it, and the GEM is the way this will go, which is a slower breakdown of the high pressure, really. But if we take the ECM and the GFS at face value, it's more unsettled next week. There was a suggestion a couple of days ago that we could start to get some northern blocking and cold northerly winds perhaps next week. That idea has gone away from the models. There's still one or two solutions with that scenario playing out in the GFS ensemble, so we can't totally rule it out, but it looks more like it's going to be a breakdown to westerlies rather than northerlies next week. I'll have a longer video explaining it all tomorrow, and that's all for now. Thanks for watching.